I'm not into the rhythm. Real Madrid,
happened?
they're a scourge of
I've been on
events,
set
aren't
with
they?
Zach.
They beat them.
Hello EFD squad and welcome back to the UCL review and welcome back Captain Copper Bollocks
Hey.
from his travels.
Woo.
How are you, sir? Fresh fade, didn't burn, well done. I've lost several bets. How was it?
Wow, Dubai, what a city, hamster.
What was your favourite part?
I think Atlantis Water Park up there. I like the old slide that drops straight down. But probably Zero Gravity Beach Club on a Saturday, 12 till 5, free booze. Incredible. People were drowning in the infinity pool. It was just unbelievable scenes.
Lad.
I know, lads on tour. Except I was with my girlfriend, so.
Controversial opinion, I actually think water parks are much better than theme parks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, definitely.
Vote in the poll.
Although not in England because they're all terrible here.
Or if they're salt water.
Yeah, shambles.
Oh, shocking. Anyway, Champions League football, that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to discuss right now because yesterday's serving of UCL was sumptuous. Starting with Juventus versus Real Madrid. What a tie. This is why we love football, Joseph. Get into the game.
Oh, Real Madrid obviously came out 3-0 victors, didn't they? Zidane yet again getting one over his old adversary. Max Allegri obviously beat him in the Champions League final last year and he beat him in Turin, which was a bit of a shock because the old lady actually have a brilliant record there. They haven't lost at home in 5 years in the Champions League and they haven't lost at home to Real Madrid since 62. I don't even want to do calculations. I think it's like 66 years or something like that, if my mind is going
40
right.
takes it to 2002 and then
52.
18, 16, 56.
56 years, terrible maths. My maths is literally so bad. But having said that, Juventus have actually beaten Real Madrid in the last 4 two-legged ties. Obviously, the final was just a one-legged affair. So over the course of 2 matches, they have a good record against Madrid. But I have to say, I think it's probably tie over. I think you could see it in Buffon's eyes, couldn't you?
Dead.
Especially when Cristiano Ronaldo produced that goal. Possibly his greatest ever goal. I would suggest maybe the one for United against Porto from the halfway line was pretty special as well. But I think the manner in which he did it, the stage on which he did it, for me, makes it Ronaldo's greatest ever goal. And he also scored, didn't he, earlier in the game, a 3rd-minute strike. That was his 13th in 9 Champions League games and his 444th, all the fours, in 430 appearances for Real Madrid. How on earth has he done it? Has he done it, I meant to say. It's also the 10th Champions League game in a row that he scored in. His form in the Champions League, and particularly since the turn of the year, is crazy.
I think prior to the season, wasn't the record 6?
Yeah,
and then he broke it with 7 and carried it on to 10.
Absolutely ridiculous. It was his 21st in 19 Champions League quarterfinals appearances as well. I think he is literally the definition of a big game player now. His record against the likes of Bayern Munich and Juventus is absolutely stinking. In fact, if he was a club, he'd be the 10th highest scoring in the competition's history. That is absolutely dirty. His stats from the night read: 7 shots, 3 dribbles completed, 3 aerial duels won, 3 key passes, 2 goals, and of course that assist for Marcelo. What a performance. What a goal. I want to know, do you guys think it's Ronaldo's best ever? And if not, what was better? Maybe his free kick against Portsmouth, maybe the one against Porto, but for me, it's this one.
Yeah, when he scored it, my girlfriend actually ran in from the bedroom because she thought I'd hurt myself. I was just in the living room like, oh!
Oh my God!
He's actually scored 9 goals, I think, with 11 shots on target against Buffon.
Poor old Gianluigi.
Gianluigi's sick of the sight of him. Ronaldo has literally retired him. But anyway, after an extremely slow start to the season by C-Ron's standards, his season now reads 36 games, 39 goals and 8 assists.
Madness.
The overhead kick was his 25th in 13 games for club and country. What? Despite the man being in his 34th year, he's now in danger of having the best UCL campaign of his trophy-laden time as a footballer. I didn't want to say career again because that's repetition.
I think George Wright kind of nailed it on Twitter. I think he's not the greatest footballer of all time. I think that's possibly Messi, but I think he is the deadliest. In that sort of 12-yard box, when the ball falls to him in a big game, he always finds the back of the net. His first finish was so good in this game with the outside of his right boot.
Yeah, well, I actually think he was known for being world-class on the ball prior, and now, much to his credit, he's evolved into a player who is world class off of it.
Yeah,
and some of his stats are indicative of this, and I'll read them out now. Of the Real Madrid players who completed the 90, only Keylor Navas had fewer touches than Ronaldo, but as we saw, he was extremely decisive when it came to him. 12 of his 49 touches were in the opposition box, along with all 7 of his shots. He got off 7 shots in the box against a Juve side that had kept 21 clean sheets in their previous 25 games. This almost never happens in football. You might get Harry Kane or Lionel Messi, who have 6-7 shots a game, but they're never all from inside the box against Chiellini, Barzagli. It's just ridiculous.
He should have had a hattie as well. Vasquez doesn't ping that, it's nuts.
Yeah, he looked at Vasquez in pure disgust afterwards, and rightly so, zipped it into his knee. But the manager has to take credit too, and it will only be a matter of time before Zidane's credentials as a manager probably, well, it dramatically improve, because if he wins it for a 3rd time, there is no denying that he's a great manager, not just a great coach.
3 Champions League victories in his first 3 seasons as a manager.
Stupid. But he deployed that 4-3-1-2 yet again to great effect. He was doing that last season in the Champions League, playing Isco just behind Benzema and Ronaldo, who dovetail really nicely in the Champions League. A lot of prominent papers in Spain were actually saying that Zidane should start Asensio, he should start Vasquez, because they've been in better form for Real Madrid than Isco, although Isco's been on fire for Spain. But he went with the little Spaniard, and he was mesmeric, particularly first half. Hauled off midway through the second half when Real Madrid were pretty much in control, but he was everywhere in the first half of the game. There was an incident where he took the ball down with the outside of his right foot, and then in one motion, just switched it out left. And it's just like, as a Juve player, when you're pressing and you've got players who can break the press like that, like, what the do you do?
It's interesting as well, because it's in the same week that all the quotes came out about him saying, oh, you know, I find it hard at Real Madrid, I'm not getting enough game time.
But Zidane still trusts him on the biggest
stage.
I
don't feel like Zidane trusts me. Yet Zidane trusts him in this game.
Zidane has rotated that squad to very good effect. Like Kovacic was making his 100th appearance for the club last night. He's only 23, and we don't think that he plays a lot. But I suppose as a top player, you're never really going to be satisfied unless you're playing every game. But Isco completed all of his passes last night, 100%, 54 out of 54. Yet again, killing it. Not really spoke about Juventus in here because it was a bit of a non-contest. I mean, they came into it after, 20 minutes? Some nice midfield combinations. Sami Khedira looked like he was going to have a half-decent game, winning a few good corners, running at the defence. But largely, I think they were just managed out of the game. And Varane and Ramos, apart from a couple of good blocks, never really looked too troubled.
Exactly the same happened for PSG as well.
And I think Higuain was quite impressive. I like the way he drops off, very selflessly trying to link up play between the midfield and attack in the absence of someone like Pjanic, who's obviously their main creative force in midfield. Bentancur was okay, he's young, probably not ready for this stage of the competition yet, but he was combative and nothing else, I'd say. But yeah, I think the 2 centre-halves for Real Madrid completed 4 tackles on the night, but ultimately weren't put under that much pressure. And I can see it just, being a 1-2-0 Real Madrid affair at home at the Bernabeu. What do you think?
Yeah, I think actually one of Zidane's most underrated qualities is how he gets his side to manage games. I think we saw it against PSG perfectly, that PSG are potentially a similar sort of level to Madrid, but they had nowhere near the game management and that sort of technique and that mental side of the game that Real Madrid did. And I just think that Madrid in the second leg, Zidane will set his team out in a way that will just see the game out, just manage it out. And I don't see any other teams really. I don't even know whether Man City have got that element of game management. I think they did it really well against Man United earlier in the season, but it'll be interesting to see whether they do it on the big stage like Madrid do.
And it's probably helping Madrid in terms of winning the Champions League that now winning La Liga isn't a possibility because he rested Ronaldo against Espanyol, they lost against Espanyol. He rested Ronaldo against Leganes, they lost against Leganes. Like it's a risk, but it's now clearly paying dividends in the last stages of this competition. Whereas if you're a Juventus, you're still competing on all fronts, aren't you? Napoli are hounding you down. Barcelona can potentially rest Messi. That might benefit them in the competition. But Man City can
rest players.
I think
Bayern can rest players.
Man City, Real Madrid would be a great final.
Man City, Real Madrid would be a great final. It'd be really interesting to see 2 bald managers slogging it out.
Yeah, and only that.
Egghead versus
not the players.
Egghead.
So next game.
We go into our next one then, and it's Sevilla versus Bayern Munich, isn't it? Hamster, what happened?
Yeah, Vincenzo Montea's plucky Andalusians succumbed 2-1 to Bayern Munich. FC Hollywood somewhat inevitably an absolute force in the Champions League, aren't they? Although the Germans had a few hoodoos to get over. Despite being favourites in this tie, no German side had actually beaten Sevilla at home, a run that extends to 11 games. I imagine the majority of those are in the Europa League, as they've been ridiculous in that competition since the turn of the millennium, haven't they? And Bayern are somewhat shaky in Spain. They'd lost their last 5 games in a row prior to last night. But Jupp Heynckes doesn't have time for any of that. Absolute no-nonsense sort of bloke. That was the direct translation for no time. And Bayern turned it around to win their 7th Champions League match in a row. He's now extended his run, Jupp Heynckes, to 12 Champions League victories on the bounce. The last time he lost a game in Europe was against, let us know in the comments below, English side, give you a little clue there. You wouldn't have thought it either, because they normally get battered by them. But I struggle to see Sevilla coming back from this. Bayern are absolutely imperious at home, and they've actually progressed in 15 out of a possible 16 KO ties after winning the first leg away from home. They've also seen the second most semi-finals in the competition after Real Madrid. So at this, the business end of the Champions League, they are good, aren't they? But Joseph, break the game down for me. That was a bit of context.
Yeah, well, the Bavarians kind of started, like you said, as history would suggest, very slowly. Obviously, they conceded in the 30th minute, but they arguably should have conceded even earlier. Sarabia missed an absolutely golden chance to make it 1-0. Their record, Bayern Munich, of conceding away from home might be a little bit of a worry for Jupp Heynckes. They've conceded in each of their last 13 away Champions League games. That's their longest ever run, and I think in the latter rounds, when they start playing the likes of Madrid, Barcelona and City, they won't be able to concede those simple goals like they were against Sevilla last night. But, like I said, Sarabia got the goal, didn't he? He was man of the match on the night. That was his first goal in his last 10 Champions League games, although he did miss a sitter, he should have had 2. And he was brilliant on the night. 4 shots, 1 goal, 3 successful dribbles, 3 tackles, 2 chances created. He was definitely Sevilla's man of the match. But, as Bayern always do, they got back into the game by hook or by crook, and this time it was by luck. Really, really unfortunate for Jesus Navas, the own goal, wasn't it? Deflected and squirmed in at the front post. Bayern then kind of just upped the tempo, got progressively stronger, really grew into the game and got the inevitable winner through Thiago, didn't they? They actually had 9 shots in the second half, so it was coming. Surprisingly, a header from Thiago as well, not something we associate with him, headed it down into the ground. That's his 2nd Champions League goal in as many games. Obviously got one against Besiktas as well. At the end of the day, Bayern made it look fairly comfortable, and I think we all know that they're going to beat Sevilla at the Allianz. So Bayern through, Real Madrid through. Those 2 second legs look pretty dead, don't they? But tonight's games are very, very exciting.
And we're going to be covering them tomorrow. Oh, back-to-back UCL reviews on EFD. You're welcome. So that was the UCL review until tomorrow. But what else is happening on Football Daily and Euro Football Daily? Probably don't know because
I actually haven't got a clue. I've been in the office for about an hour and I've not been here for 10 days. So do you know what's happening?
Yeah, Football Mundial is out at 6. This has obviously gone out a little bit earlier. And then on FD we have Transfer Talk going out. Balls Up, anything happening on there this weekend?
There'll be another episode of Agony Uncles if you haven't seen that already. It's where basically we give advice on your problems. It's pretty good fun, so maybe go and check that out.
And as ever, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye now.